If you enjoy my videos, like, comment, and consider subscribing so you never miss a new video. Hi everyone, welcome back to Crochet Bits and Knits. In today's tutorial, we're going to make my absolute favorite triangle scarf. I will put a list of the materials I used to make the completed scarf that I shown in the beginning of this video in the description below. So to begin, you want to make your slip knot and chain 9. And we're going to skip the first 5 chains and double crochet into that 6th chain from the hook. Then we're going to chain 1 and skip 1 and double crochet into that next chain. And to end the row, we're going to make another double crochet into that same chain space. So to end each row, we're always going to make 2 double crochets to stabilize the end. Chain 4 and turn your work. So what we're going to do now is double crochet into this first big chain space here. We're going to skip these 2 double crochets and go right into this chain space, making a double crochet, chain 1, and going into this next chain space and making a double crochet. So we're going to be increasing on every other row. So this is an increase row. You could put a stitch marker just to remind you on which side to increase. So we're going to chain 1 and double crochet again into this same chain space. So now we're just going to make 1 more double crochet without chaining 1, again because we're going to make 2 double crochets at the end of each row. Chain 4 and turn your work. So here again we're going to skip these 2 clusters right here, this cluster of 2 double crochets, and we're going to work into this first chain space. Chain 1 and work into this next chain space. Chain 1 and working into the next chain space. Now this is not an increase row, so we're just going to make another double crochet without chaining 1. So as you can see, we're building windows here. So on the first row we have 2 windows, on the second row we have 3 windows, and on this row we have 3 windows again because this was not an increase row. Next we're going to chain 4 and turn our work. So again we're going to skip this cluster of 2 double crochets and we're going to make our next double crochet into this big chain space here. Chain 1 and double crocheting into this next chain space. Chain 1 and double crocheting into this last chain space. So now we are on an increase row, so we're going to chain 1 and make another double crochet into the same chain space. And again, we'll just put 1 more double crochet without chaining 1 because we do that at the end of each row. Okay, so as you can see, it's already building up here. We'll continue by chaining 4 and turn. Now from here, again, we're going to skip these 2 double crochets and go into this next chain space with our double crochet. Chain 1 and going into the next chain space. chain 1, going into the next chain space, chain 1, and going into the next chain space. And because this is not an increased row, we'll just make one more double crochet into that same chain space, chain 4, and turn your work. Again, skipping this cluster of 2 and going right into this next chain space, chain 1, and going into this next chain space, chain 1, going into the next chain space, chain 1, and going into this last chain space. Now we are on an increased row now, so we'll chain 1 and make another double crochet. So we're adding a window, and then we'll make one more double crochet without chaining 1. So always doing those 2 double crochets at the end of each and every row, chain 4, and turn your work. So I'm gonna keep increasing like this for a few rows, and I'll meet you when we get there. All right, so I worked a couple more rows, and as you can see, the scarf is starting to take shape here. Here's my increase row, here's my not increasing row, and what I'm going to do next is show you how to decrease. So what you would do is just keep increasing until you have the scarf the size or the width that you want it, and then you would start decreasing. And just as we increase on every other row, you want to make sure that when you start decreasing, it's on every other row. So here is my last increase row, here is just a regular row, and then I can start decreasing next. So how we're going to do that is chain 4, always chaining 4, and turn our work. Always skipping these 2 first double crochets, we'll go into this next chain space with our double crochet, chain 1, going into our next chain space, and working like that all the way until the end of the row, until we have 2 windows left. So this pattern is super easy for beginners. It's a really enjoyable pattern to work. So once we have our 2 windows left, we're going to yarn over, insert our hook, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull only through 2 loops so that you still have 2 loops on your hook. And what we're going to do is crochet or double crochet 2 windows together. So we're going to leave this double crochet half finished. We're going to yarn over again and go into the next chain space, pull up the loop, yarn over, and pull through 2 loops so that now you have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So that's going to start bringing the scarf from the tip. So as you're increasing the whole time, then your tip, and you're going to start bringing it back down in the other direction to create that triangle shape. And again, we'll chain 4 and turn. Again, skipping these 2 double crochets and going into this next chain space. Chain 1, going into the next chain space, chain 1, going into the next chain space, chain 1, going into the next chain space, chain 1, and going into this last chain space, and we'll make one more double crochet without chaining 1, and chain 4 to turn our work. Okay, so we'll make one more row together. So again, skipping these two, going into this next chain space. Chain one, going into the next chain space. Chain one. And going into this next chain space. And again, here's our decrease row. So our last two windows, we'll yarn over, insert the hook and pull up a loop. Yarn over and pull through two and leave two loops on your hook. Yarn over, go into the last chain space, pull up the loop, yarn over and pull through two, so you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So I'm going to work a few more rows just to show you what my finished product sample swatch looks like, and I'll meet you when I get there. Okay, so I worked just a few more rows, and as you can see for my sample swatch, we have the flat end and the triangle end. Of course, yours will be much bigger than this. So at the very end, I chained 4 and I turned, and I only have these 2 windows left. So I'm going to yarn over and insert my hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and again leave these last 2 loops on the hook because we only have 2 windows left on our decrease row. Yarn over, insert, pull up the loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So as you can see, I have no windows left. I'm at the very end. So I could just fasten off here.